hi there. Welcome to Relationship Coaching Live. Thank you guys for being here and joining us today. I have a guest who's been here before, and he was so great that people were like, we want him back. So I brought him back, and we're going to talk about stress today. He wrote a book called The Art of Taking It Easy: How to Cope with Bears, Traffic, and the Rest of Life's Stressors. Please welcome to the virtual stage, Dr. Brian King.
Hey, how you doing, Grace? It's good.
I'm great. How are you?
I'm taking it easy.
Right. No,
Trying to take my own advice.
I know it's so hard sometimes. I preach the same thing, like don't stress. I'm playing with my light, by the way. Don't stress and just chill because I face mortality, so I need to yeah, and then sometimes the smallest thing just stresses me out.
Right.
So what can you do when you have that like intrusive thought, and that emotion of like, I need to do something because it's stressing me out. So what do you do? How can you cope with that?
To jump ahead, and this is jumping ahead because I usually like to explain to people why this is important. But to jump ahead,
yes,
you have to realize that those thoughts are just thoughts, and you modify or change a thought just like any other form of thought. I always tell people, a thought is, unless you're actively thinking about something you're currently doing, a thought is just mental activity. Your brain doesn't like to be inactive. It's a very uncomfortable condition for your brain to be inactive. In fact, we call it dopamine deficiency in technical terms. In non-technical terms, we call it being bored. You're, whenever your brain isn't sufficiently stimulated, it tries to stimulate itself. And unfortunately, for some of us, it seeks that stimulation in perhaps maybe revisiting memories that it revisits on occasion. Like that bad thing that happened that one time. We call that ruminating. Or it might seek to relieve that lack of stimulation by thinking about possibilities for the future, and some of those possibilities are going to be negative, and we call that worrying.
Yes.
Worrying and ruminating are both just mental activities, and they can have pretty significant effects on us. Rumination leads to depression. Worrying leads to the development of anxiety disorder, all related conditions. And so what I always tell people is to recognize thoughts for what they are. And what do you do when you want to change your thoughts? Well, you have to give your brain something else to do, something else to focus on. And so I always tell people, whenever you start to go in that direction with your mental activity, to try to change it. Try to change, it's like literally changing the channel in your head, and read a book, watch TV, have a conversation, engage in some social interactions, go for some exercise, do something to occupy your mental space that redirects your brain from the path that it's currently on, and
Absolutely.
Then it's ironic, but even an example with regards to managing stress. So I have this bad, I don't think it's bad, but my partner thinks it's bad. I have this bad habit of when I'm on vacation, I'm not really on vacation. Some people think that to be on vacation is just to sit and relax with a margarita by the pool. No, that's not me at all.
Exactly.
For me, a vacation is a change in focus. So I'm actively focused on this one particular subject, this situation I'm dealing with, work, whatever it might be, and for me, just to redirect my attention to something else is sufficient. And so I don't like to just sit by a pool with a margarita, although that is an enjoyable experience sometimes. For me, that's not that's not the art of taking it easy. The art of taking it easy is learning how to do something else when those negative thoughts start popping into my head.
I love that, because sometimes I go on vacation and I feel like I have to do this. I have to, and what I like to do is just chill and
Hmm.
thoughts kind of like go away, but I become more creative because
Yeah.
when busy in our lives, I feel like my creativity kind of like goes,
Yeah.
And when I take a vacation, what I like to do is to chill so I can be more creative. I come up
Yeah.
with ideas. I can kind of like reorganize things in a way that moving forward, my life is a little bit easier.
Hmm.
Thinking about the big picture, like how can I
Well,
pay debt, or how can I, create
right.
book, or blah blah blah, right?
Stress stifles creativity.
Yes.
The thing is like what a lot of people don't appreciate about stress is that it is so it's based on thoughts. Now, obviously, there are real things that cause stress. I don't want to go into what's real and what's not real for with regard to
Of
stress, but
course.
stress is ultimately based on thoughts, but it's perceived by your body. And this mechanism, you have a brain, you have other mechanisms, you have other physiological mechanisms in your body that are influenced by your brain. It's perceived by your brain as a danger. You know,
Hmm.
now anything that you perceive as being something that might cause you stress is perceived as a danger. And
Yeah.
whenever you perceive a danger, your body automatically enters into what we call fight or flight mode.
Right. Yes.
And what I always tell people about fight or flight mode is that that's good if you actually have something in your environment that is fighting or dangerous. Which is why the title of my book has that subtitle about how to cope with bears, traffic, and the rest of life stressors. I always use the bear as an example of like a real threat. It's actually something that's going to hurt you. It's an attacking bear. Or I use the traffic as an example of a not so real threat. Traffic isn't going to
Right.
hurt you. It's just there.
Yes.
Now, the reason why it stifles creativity to be under stress is because if you are being attacked by a bear, the last thing you want to do is have some sort of creative innovative thoughts. Your you want your brain to be super focused on
Yeah.
surviving the bear, or whatever it is that, and so you don't have those kinds of thoughts, you don't have those
Yeah.
kind of inspirations pop into your head. One of the most relaxing experiences people even engage in, just to go a little bit further into this subject, is to take a shower or a bath. A lot of people
Yeah.
like to relax in that. And you're a creative person. I'm a creative person. How much inspiration comes to you while you're in the freaking shower? Like honestly, some of my best ideas come to me while I'm just like shampooing my hair.
That's
Because
crazy.
your focus, your
Yeah.
attention is focused on the activity of bathing, and it's not dangerous. It's not perceived as a threat by anything, and so your mind gets to wander, and you start to have those wonderful positive ideas.
Absolutely. And also when I drive, I get really good ideas.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
constantly like, hey
Again,
Siri,
brain is
text
focused
Ray
on driving. Yeah, brain is focused on driving.
on
I would,
driving.
yeah,
Yeah.
I tell people that's one of my favorite coping mechanisms. Actually, I mean, it's not so great for the environment, but I drive a hybrid, so it's okay. But it is. It's sometimes if things are getting, just getting too much, I just take a drive. And
Yeah.
while I'm driving, like my mind is wandering. I come up with my jokes. I come up with stories. I come up with other ideas. In fact, I have an idea for a new book that I came up with while I was driving recently. So
That's amazing. Oh, well, I can't wait for you to write it so we can all,
if I get a chance to write it, the
yeah.
reason why I was driving is because I've been super busy. Like since
Yes.
I last appeared on your podcast, I moved my family across country. So
Ooh.
in fact, I'm still in the process of settling in our new state. We moved from Texas to North Carolina, and we are, yeah. So you talk about stress. I've had a lot of that going on actually. But it's nice to be able to sometimes be reminded I can take my own medicine. You know,
Absolutely. And I love that you said about the fight or flight, that my cancer therapist, when I was starting to have a lot of anxiety, like about the treatment and
hmm
getting, just really anxious and a little bit of PTSD. And you can have PTSD while you're going through the experience, I think,
right.
right?
It's
Absolutely.
not. It's. I wouldn't I mean, it's not diagnosed as PTSD because PTSD is post-trauma.
I know, but it's the
You're currently
during
experiencing
trauma.
the trauma. Yeah. That's you definitely suffer the symptoms, absolutely. But the
Yes.
reason why they call it PTSD is because those symptoms aren't supposed to linger. So that's when it becomes post. But
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
But you have it during the trauma. And I
You're
remember,
experiencing the symptoms of trauma. Yeah, but
yes,
it's not
yes,
PTSD until you're after the trauma, and then you're still having
it's
the same symptoms.
TSD.
Yeah.
So, but I remember that whenever I was really anxious, like I would get dizzy. And disassociate. That's how anxious I was.
Yeah.
And so she would be like, okay, go in the mirror and talk to yourself like, Grace, there's no lion chasing you right now.
Nice.
You're okay. You're
I would
safe.
recommend you use a bear, but lion, everybody has their own preference.
A lion kind of scares me because they dig into your skin and they eat you. I'm not that scared. I know crap my ass, so I feel like I can punch the bear.
I like that. See, I use the bear solely because it's more realistic. Like living in North America, we are much more likely to be attacked by bears than lions.
Yes.
I know other people who use they talk about the evolution of the brain, and they talk about cavemen being attacked by dinosaurs and stuff like that. To me, that's not realistic. Lions aren't realistic, but freaking bears, man, bears are everywhere in this state, in this country.
I know. No, absolutely. For me, again, it's lions, but it's that fight or flight thing that we do when we're going through trauma, especially medical trauma. I think because it's so physical when you go through chemo and radiation, and it's like your body is going through all kinds of crazy things. Like it's wow. And so you feel you have absolutely zero control of your body, which we never really do have a lot of control. But in those times it does. So that exercise helped me a lot. And also I think another thing for stress is grounding yourself. Like she would tell me, look around, like things that are green. And so I would start looking around and naming them, and that would calm me down because it distracted me.
Exactly. It's giving your brain something else to do. And I think very often when people are suffering, and they do really suffer,
yes,
very often a therapist or a clinician, in your case, will recommend these kinds of activities.
yes.
They don't sound like they're going to do much. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, my therapist wants me to look for green objects every time you know what I mean? Like, what's that going to do? Give me some medication. We're really driven towards taking a pill. What pill? What can I take to make this go away? But once you understand how much of that is actually rooted in the thoughts that you're having, and you can learn to change those thoughts through talking to yourself in the mirror like you did, and looking for objects to distract yourself. I mean, distraction is really one of the best things. And the phrase, I forget the exact wording of it, but the devil makes use of idle hands or something like that. Idle hands is the devil's plaything. Being busy prevents so much of that negativity from happening in the first place. I mean, really, I remember a conversation I had with somebody who told me she had 3 jobs and goes to school. And in comparison, she asked me what I was doing. And I said, well, I'm doing a seminar on how to make people happy and manage stress. She says to me, she says, oh yeah, happiness. Yeah, I can see how that's really important. But I'm too busy to be depressed. And I was like, you got it. I mean, that's exactly right. We're not busy. Most people are not busy enough. We might say we might complain that we got a lot of things to do, but then you didn't factor in the 6 hours you spent sitting on your couch watching TV, all the time you spent surfing your phone for no reason. You know what I mean? We're not as busy as we pretend to be. And that's a big part of the problem.
Yeah, I agree. And this leads me to my next question. How do you define taking it easy in a world that often celebrates hustle and constant productivity?
Right. Well, first of all, I don't know that the world does that. I mean, I know we like to think that there's this idea that we should be working and hustling and all the time, We might feel peer pressured to do so, but the reality is, like 99% of us don't work that hard. There's a reason that there's the top 1% and then there's the rest of us. The
Yes.
reality is the case. I mean, like not, but let's just say we do feel pressured with those thoughts, and we think that, oh well, we got to work hard. That's the culture. When I use the phrase "take it easy," I don't mean physically. I don't mean go sit by the pool and sip margaritas. I mean mentally. Give yourself a break from that pressure. Just thinking that you have to be busy all the time is actually another form of stress. I don't want people
Yes.
stressing out about the fact that they're not doing things to prevent stress. That's ridiculous. Oh man, I really got to think positive. I'm not thinking positive. Don't
It's so stressful.
like you're stressing about the fact that you're not stressing. It's ridiculous, but there are people that do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And,
I'm constantly like doing things. I actually have to say, okay, I'm going to drive myself to the beach, and then that's my favorite thing
mhm,
to do, and just look at the ocean. And then I'm going to go to my favorite vegan restaurant and
yeah,
have a nice meal and chill. And that works for me because I'm
that's great.
always,
Yeah,
you got to produce. And it's a trap because yes, it's
right.
great to produce. And I'm building, like right now I'm focused on building my YouTube and all my podcasts and everything. And that plus I work, like teaching swimming and tutoring
Yeah.
kids, like, and
Oh
also
yeah,
I do
work is
podcast.
important.
Yeah.
Work is important, and work is fulfilling,
Yes.
and we should work absolutely. And most of
Yes.
us need to. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Taking it easy has nothing to do with not working. In fact,
Yeah.
not working is a big part of the problem. As I mentioned earlier, the woman who said, like, I'm too busy to get depressed. She was working all the time.
Yeah.
It's
That's
the people
fine.
who are sitting around not
Yeah.
working, like the retirees get depressed,
Yeah.
and the reason why they're so depressed is because they're not doing anything anymore.
Yeah.
They're not as active physically and mentally as they used to be. But it's the nature of the activity that makes it healthy, right? So I
Absolutely.
always say that work for the most part should be something productive, should be something that keeps us busy mentally, even if it's not physical. A lot of our work currently is sitting on a computer, so
I know.
that's not physical activity.
Yeah.
And I hate that actually about myself, but like the majority of the activities that I do are on this machine that's right in front of me. I wish I was a landscaper or a or some kind of laborer. At least then I would have some physical activity along with my mental activity. But I unfortunately have trained myself to not be as rewarded by those activities. But the work is important and it's necessary, but it's what we do when we're not working that's probably the most flexible for people. And I always recommend, like one of my first questions whenever somebody tells me they're really stressed, they say, "What are your hobbies? What do you
Mm,
do for fun?" And a lot of them will say, "Oh, I don't have time for fun." What do you mean I don't have time for fun? Well, do you have time for Netflix? Do you have time to sit and vegetate in front of a TV? Do you have time, to lay in bed for extra hours because you're suffering from depression? I mean, you clearly have some time. Use that time to pursue a hobby. Or a lot of times I'll ask them, what did you do for fun? Sometimes they don't have an activity they're currently engaging in, but I'll say, what did you used to do for fun? And, oh, well, I used to do this, but I stopped doing it. Well, how about we try doing that again? How about we get back into that behavior? Why'd you stop? It's, I don't know. I just stopped, and then a nice coincidence. When you stopped doing the thing that made you happy, you started developing the thing that made you depressed. you know?
absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that you're saying this because sometimes I feel guilty that I'm working so much, but I love what I do so much. Everything I do, I love. There's not anything I don't like.
Yep.
If I don't like a job, I'll just quit it.
Yep.
I can't. And I think that's a very important part. And I think it also gives you perspective. It's like, okay, I'm enjoying this, but I do need a break right now. Maybe I
Mhm.
should go for a walk or, it keeps you, I think for me, particularly, it keeps me more grounded, to have a purpose in my life. I think that's very important. If you have a purpose, then everything you do is kind of tinted by that purpose, and it makes life a lot more fun rather than, oh my God, I have to go to work and I have to make money and I have to this. You don't have to do anything. You just do it because you like it. And that's a big difference, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can like what you do for work, that's the best case scenario. Most people aren't that lucky, you know?
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't go to Walmart and stock shelves because I enjoy it. I go there because I have to, or I would, do deliveries, or whatever. But yeah, maybe you can find joy in those activities. I don't mean to diss
I think
Walmart.
so.
There's
You know,
physical activity going on with that. Yeah.
well, if you look at the point of view of, like, what I do is I like to love and help others, and of course love and help myself. It's all part of the deal, right? It just goes both ways.
Loving is
Uh,
life.
yes, absolutely. So whenever I do anything, even because I used to walk dogs when I was, like, needed a lot money
Mhm.
more than I need it now, because long story. But anyway, so I would be like, okay, so first of all, I'm helping the puppy go out and do their business and go for a walk and be happy. And I'm helping the pet parent to, just not worry about their pet because they're working or they're doing whatever. So when I saw it that way, like, I'm helping other people,
Right.
that kind of like makes everything better, even though, sometimes I don't feel like going for a walk with the dog. I don't, some dogs, are a pain in the butt. They're like,
Right.
they're
Right.
too much or whatever. But it's just, I think that when you have a purpose, it really helps you get through your day.
Yeah.
And it's just so, to me, personally, since I started applying that more, it just makes my life way better.
Yeah. Yeah, having a purpose will make any situation tolerable. Yeah, I remember, I use this story in my book. I talk about when I was a college student. My life, there was a period where I was just my life was just absolutely terrible. I was homeless, and I was crashing on a friend's parents' trailer home. And I was staying on, they had a bunk bed situation because they had a lot of kids, and then they had empty bunk beds. So I had like the top bunk on a bunk bed in a trailer home out in the country. And that was, I was effectively homeless, but they were letting me stay there and keep some stuff there,
Yeah.
and of course, getting in and out of the city every day, that was a chore. I didn't have any money for anything extra in my life. That was tough, miserable circumstances, right? But they were tolerable, and I suffered through them because I knew that every day got me closer to this goal. My actions were goal oriented, which gave me a sense of purpose in my life at that particular time. Like the struggle wasn't a struggle because that's just the crumminess of my life circumstances. The struggle was a struggle that was part of me achieving something with my life, and so it gave me a sense of purpose. Purpose will help anybody suffer through some negative situations. Now, I like to compare that to another situation in my life where I had a job post getting my PhD, making a substantial amount of money, a decent amount of money. In fact, college me would be so envious of me at this level. And my job was completely and totally meaningless. People use the term paper pushers, or pencil pushers or whatever. I was a guy who my title is unimportant because it did sound like it was an important title, but the reality of my job was I was just checking, like PowerPoint reports before I passed them on to somebody else, and the PowerPoint reports were hardly even going to be looked at by anybody I was passing them on to. Absolutely pointless work. And I felt like I had no purpose in being there other than drawing a paycheck. And so I thought to myself, well, what could really be the purpose of this position? Well, the purpose was sustaining employment, right? And sustaining my company. And then I looked around in my company, and I didn't like any of the people I was working with. I was like, here I am doing this pointless activity just so I could keep this company in business. And I don't even like the people who own the company. I don't even like the people who are working with me and so forth. And it just made for a very miserable experience day to day to day. And that's when I actually started suffering a great deal of stress in my life and
Yeah.
actually started to look inward and say, well, what do I need to do about this? So that was right before I started stand-up comedy, by the way.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which leads to my next question. You're like leading me into a question. It's great. You emphasize humor in dealing with stress. So, how can laughter actually reduce stress on a
Yep.
physiological level?
Well, physiologically speaking, laughter does help manage stress because it suppresses the hormones that are released during stress. Psychologically speaking, it is all about changing those thoughts. It's a distraction, right? Like at the bare minimum, I'm momentarily distracted from my crappy day because because I get to laugh. And of course, if I experience something negative in my life and I make a joke about it, it helps me to cope with that thing that I'm dealing with. Laughter has a lot. Humor has a lot of benefits. Laughter, of course, helps me lower cortisol, which is the hormone that is involved in all those physiological mechanisms that you were just referencing. And this is why I point to my horrible work situation leading into my stand-up comedy career, because once I started doing stand-up comedy, the stress I felt went away with that particular job. I had that job during the day, go do an open mic at night. I felt so much better. And then it became the point where I was like, all I wanted to do was comedy. And then my career shifted completely after that.
That's amazing. Yeah. And everything you do, once you do comedy, it's like everything you do is tinted by comedy. It's like
Yeah,
everything
it
has
has to be
that.
funny.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and without meaning to, because then you're thinking funny, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, your brain's trained more to like focus
yeah,
on the funny positives instead of the negatives. Yep.
yes, yes. And that's why I love comedy. And through my cancer journey, I actually wrote a whole comedy special on, I wrote a book, a comedy special, because it helped me deal with it. Because I was looking at the funny things that were happening. I mean,
Hmm.
they were not funny at the moment, but then I
Right,
was
right,
like,
right.
if you look at it, it's really ridiculous what I'm going through.
Yeah, a
So
lot of great comedy comes from coping.
yes, absolutely. And how can we identify the tipping point when like daily stress starts to become detrimental to our health? What are the signs?
And that's hard to. Each person's going to be different. Obviously, the physiological signs are there. There's blood pressure. There's substantial weight gain, substantial weight loss.
Mm,
High cortisol, which you're not going to notice, but you will have. A physician will notice it. Headaches, dizziness, the kinds of things that you pointed out. Psychosomatic uh, dysfunction. Maybe it's the onset of some pain. The kind of, oh, my shoulder hurts or my neck hurts, my lower back hurts, that kind of stuff.
yes.
Any of those signs, are going to come around. But ultimately, I think the major thing to be on the lookout is any sort of impediment in life functioning. That
Oh,
if your stress is getting in the way, your ability to enjoy things, or the time you spend with your family, or the time you spend, doing things that might make you happy, or interfering with your ability to, to have a job or relationship. I mean, obviously, those are really important signs, and we don't want to get to the point where we're suffering from high blood pressure any more than we want to get to the point when we're suffering from depression as a result of stress. So it
yeah.
is important to look for sort of the big picture signals, and it's easy to lose track of them. It's easy to not notice them, especially if we're super highly focused on the bear. If I'm so focused on, if I'm really focused on dealing with this bear that's about to attack me, and this bear is like, say, a car payment or a house payment or whatever, if I'm so focused on that particular element in my environment, I may not really notice that in the process I've developed this sort of like twitch with my eye, or my neck hurts repeatedly, or I just don't have a lot of energy like I used to, stuff like that.
Yes.
And so it's important to be focused on the whole vibe, the whole person.
Absolutely. And I love that you use bears as a metaphor for like extreme stressors. How can we prepare ourselves for the bears in our life, whether they're expected or unexpected? How can
Mhm.
we be ready for them? Like, I'm ready to fight you.
Well, the expected ones are the easy ones to prepare for,
Yeah.
right? Like you know you have something that's going to be coming up. Well, you train and you develop the skills and everything you need to be able to cope with that. It's the unexpected stuff that really is problematic for us, and to train for that is to develop something that we call psychological resilience, and unfortunately, that is a lifelong pursuit. It is a lifelong pursuit. We don't think about it. We don't think that we're trying to train our brain to be more resilient as we're doing it. We're just doing it.
Yeah.
We do that by stepping up to challenges. Every time we would step up to a challenge, we are training our brain that this is something that we can do. We do it by solving problems. We do it by thinking positive. We do it by thinking differently, or by and maintaining good physical health as well.
Yes.
As the more we do that throughout our lives, the more resilient we become. Conversely, the less we do that throughout our lives,
Yeah.
the more prone to neuroticism we become as we get older. Nobody's born anxious. I do like to point that out.
Yes.
Nobody's born anxious. They become anxious over time, and the reason why they do that is because they failed to develop a good sense of psychological resilience, among possible other causes as well. But nobody's born anxious. We develop it. We learn to be anxious.
Absolutely. Do you think just the pace of our life, and because we need to work to get essential things like food and shelter,
Hmm.
medical care, we have to work.
It could
Um,
be. I mean, that could be a big part of it. People stress over different things, but I do know that in our country, at least, eating is pretty cheap. Uh, you know, Social and medical benefits are can be shared. Not social. Did I say so? Yeah. Well, medical shelter is what I meant to say, not social,
oh
but
yeah,
sheltering, and of course, the three things you mentioned: food, shelter, and
medical care. Yeah.
medical care. Those things can be shared costs with family, with friends, with partners, and so forth. And so they don't have to be as expensive as they are in an individual level, and they don't have to. They certainly don't have to be the cause of our lack of health. If you're
True.
stressing about how you're going to pay for healthcare, you're making yourself need healthcare.
Yes, that is
You're
so true.
yeah,
Yes.
you're stressing about how you're going to pay for shelter. Well, shelter obviously everybody needs,
Do
but
you do you think that many people struggle with the idea of letting go of control, like especially like in high stress situations?
yeah.
And so, what advice do you have for someone who finds this really difficult?
That's a tough one. For people who are kind of stuck in that mentality, I honestly I do recommend possibly consulting with a therapist, because being having control issues is a hard fix on your own. You can easily recognize that, yeah, I got this problem. I always feel like I need to be in control, but it doesn't turn it off. So there are some techniques that therapists will engage.
Nice. Well, yeah, I feel like I do sometimes get that, I need
Hmm.
to have control over my environment and how I'm going to live and stuff. But then I'm like, I could die tomorrow. So,
That's right.
yes, you know what I
I
mean?
like to remind myself, no matter what happens, like no matter what I do, I could still get hit by a bus. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, so it takes a little bit of the pressure off. You know,
Yeah.
uh, some of the happiest people in the world are also the most religious. The most
Really?
and what there's comfort in
Yeah.
religion, because you are acknowledging that you have a lack of control,
Yeah.
and that you are at least putting faith into some form of higher power and so forth,
Yeah.
and that does really contribute to it. Religious people are much healthier, and they're less stressed than non-religious counterparts. And
Interesting.
as I'm not a religious person,
Me
but I
neither.
am
I'm
somebody,
spiritual though, but
I
not
am
religious.
somebody, I am somebody who manages stress really well. But
Yeah.
man, what I wouldn't do just to be able to say, okay, there's a God, He's going to take care of me, But my own brain doesn't let me do that, you know.
Interesting. It's almost like you're trapped in a thought prison of
Yeah.
your own. Yeah.
I'm
You
trapped
know,
in I'm trapped
yeah.
in the fact that I'm a psychologist and I know too much about the brain
Ah,
to be religious. But I understand the value of religion, and I've
yeah, I hear
adopted
you.
many of the principles that religious people have without the dogma that might inspire those principles. You know, but it is interesting when you look at that. You know, religious people are healthier overall, not just mentally but physically. And of course, there's plenty of examples of unhealthy people, and no matter what belief system. I'm not saying that this
Yeah,
isn't a global statement, of course, but people will interpret that as a global statement. No, I got this friend who was screwed up by the, you know, that's that's not what I'm talking about overall. You know, in
yeah,
general, you know, people with a good sense of faith are a little bit happier in life, and part of that is because it's out of their hands. You know, at some point, you just have to realize it's nothing I can do about it.
absolutely. I think like I'm not religious at all. I have my own beliefs, and we all do have our own beliefs, right? They differ from person to
Mm-hmm.
person. But I do feel, that first of all, we're all going to die. So why stress and worry about things, right? We're all
Yeah.
going to go wherever we're going, to another dimension or another form or whatever that is.
Right.
And then, it's like if I worry, okay, I learned this when I was getting the diagnosis. I knew I had the cancer going on because they called me into the office. When a doctor calls you into the office, you're in trouble. If
Yeah.
not, they're like, they even don't even call you. You have to call, hey, did my MRI come out okay? They're like, yeah, it's all clear. But when they're like, you have to come to the office like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that
But
was a big
come today
pivot.
because you're not going to make it tomorrow.
Exactly, exactly. So I was like, somebody actually told me, don't stress about it because right now you don't know. It could be 50-50, right? You
Hmm.
think it, okay. So during the weekend, I was like, I'm going to enjoy my weekend because if I don't have it, I'm worrying about nothing. And
Yeah.
if I have it, then I will have time to worry later. I'm going to be like busy worrying about,
Well,
you
to
know,
be honest, too, it's like worrying. Like if you have it, okay, you have it. You know, what is does worrying help it go away?
not
You
at all.
know,
No,
in
it
fact,
actually hurts you.
as you know, worrying makes it get worse. You know,
Absolutely.
as your mental state contributes to your body's recovery
A
from something
hundred
like
percent.
that. So,
100%.
so
Yeah,
yeah, there's no point in worrying about things
yeah,
that you can't do anything about.
not at all. A doctor actually told me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that whenever you are stressing about something or you have a strong negative emotion,
Hmm.
your immune system is like busy dealing with
Hmm.
that, and
Yeah,
it
it
doesn't
certainly
deal
is.
with like cancer cells
Yeah.
or any kind of disease that might be going around.
Yep.
And it is so true because when I was living with my, ex abusive person, boyfriend, uh, I was always sick.
Yeah. Cortisol inhibits your immune system. So
Ah, that's what it is.
when
Okay.
you engage that response, what you're doing is you're inhibiting your immune system, and this makes good sense if you're being attacked by a bear. You know,
Right,
it
right, right.
really, and see that's why I always put it back in that context so you can understand why your body does these things, right? If you're being attacked by a bear, you want every available resource in your body devoted to surviving that bear. You don't
Yes.
want to waste energy on other systems that have nothing to do with bear survival. You know, your immune system helps to keep you alive, but no microorganism will kill you faster than that bear. You know, the bear is going to attack. You know, and so there's when a choice has to be made about where to delegate resources to in your body, you're always going to choose things that relate to your immediate survival over
Mhm.
your long-term survival.
Yes.
Immune system goes way down. It's inhibited during times of stress, during times of depression, because that's based on stress. Anxiety, it's based on stress. Anytime we're suffering from any great deal of stress, we are depleting our immune system, and as a result, as you mentioned, you get sick more often and you stay sick
Absolutely.
longer. And if you're in a situation like you were, where you're trying to engage your immune system as much as possible so you can help fight off this cancer, well, of course, you're at a severe disadvantage of doing so if you keep maintaining that kind of mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was very focused during that journey. Like I knew I couldn't afford being stressed. Like even if I was sad and started having the thoughts like, why me? And
Yeah.
and I would be like, okay, shut the hell up, go away, thought, because I'm not entertaining you. And then I would just, watch something funny or watch a YouTube video or
Right.
just
Right.
listen to music. So I kind of like learned how to switch um, the stress into something fun. So I think
Yeah. Distracting your brain. Yeah. Changing the
yeah,
channel.
yeah, changing the channel. But to me, it's doing something fun that makes me
Hmm.
happy versus, crying my eyeballs out, which is good to do that, right?
Right.
Sometimes.
It's really hard to cry when you're actively, like jog. Try crying and jogging at the same time. You know. You know, I mean, I'm sure somebody can pull it off, but honestly, like you have to stop to cry. You know,
Yeah,
if you're jogging, you're preventing yourself from even feeling the emotion because your thoughts are focused on the activity.
100%. And in today's world, it's like social media, I feel like an amplifies stress. So,
Hmm.
what strategies would you recommend to cope with stress induced by social media
Well,
consumption?
the strategies to cope with stress are the same as to cope with that kind of stress are the same as other forms of stress. Stress is stress. I think that a lot of people blame social media, but it's not really just social media. Remember that when you're on social media and you're surfing through your phone, you're also sitting on the couch doing nothing. And so, like, I
Right?
mean, like literally, like that's what like there are multiple things happening at the same time.
Yeah.
We just like to social media is a easy scapegoat. So you're sitting on the couch doing nothing with no positive thought in your head, and all of a sudden you see something that angers you or agitates you or makes you feel jealous or bad or whatever, and you might amplify that emotion in that moment. But the reality is, it's not the social media. I mean, maybe that helped put the thought in your head, but it's the
Yeah.
fact that you're literally sitting there doing nothing but
Yes.
scrolling on your phone. Like that. I use social media a lot, as do you as well. And I always
Right.
tell people that when I use it, I try to use it very productively.
Yes.
Like I post engaging content. I connect
Yes.
with friends. I make new friends. And so like I get quite a bit out of social media. So
Me too.
occasionally I'll see somebody and like, oh man, Grace's comedy career is good and better than mine, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, how did Grace book that gig? I would have been good for that gig.
Yes.
But
I
those
know the
kinds of
feeling.
thoughts don't stay very long because I'm
Yeah.
busy. I'm busy doing
Yes.
something else.
Absolutely. And even let me tell you, during my cancer treatment, my favorite, well, I had to be in bed a lot because I was tired. It makes
Hmm.
you extremely tired. And so I would just scroll through TikTok because that just
Oh yeah,
deterred
no,
my mind
TikTok is the
from.
absolute worst. Don't get on TikTok. No.
I know, no, I love
I'm
TikTok
just
because
kidding. It
I know,
doesn't
I know,
matter.
I know.
The
And
app
but
doesn't matter.
the app doesn't matter, but it would distract me from my own fatigue and my own treatment. And I got used to doing that. So that's my relaxation.
Yep,
It's
yep.
going through TikTok and the algorithm will respond if I don't stay on something because I don't like it, then I scroll fast and the algorithm will be like, oh, she didn't like that.
Oh, she hates
So
this, but she loves this for some reason.
yes.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
kind of take care of
I have a
you.
I try to avoid TikTok only because I realize I already have enough time suckers in my life as it is,
Yeah.
and I know that TikTok can really take some of your time away. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a less well known comedian because I haven't adopted that particular platform,
Yeah.
but Instagram keeps me busy enough. Facebook keeps me busy enough, and but like I said, it doesn't matter the platform. What
Yeah.
matters is what you're doing with your life. If you're just spending time scrolling through other people's content mindlessly, or it doesn't inspire a great deal of positive thoughts. I mean, it's not a recipe for healthy living. Think of all the things that you're not doing when you're busy scrolling social media, and that's a huge part of the problem that nobody talks about. It's the same problem people have if they watch too much TV or play too many video games, or it's you have to change up what's going on in your brain, and you can only
Yeah.
do that through some form of activity.
Absolutely. So Let me ask you, for someone who's new to like stress management, they don't know anything about it, they have no idea what to do. What would you recommend as a first step towards living a more relaxed life?
Buy my book. Uh,
Where can we get the book, by the way?
no, I always say buy my book. I
Yeah,
give all sorts of information away all the time, but the ultimately the idea is like I want to sell my book.
of
But
course.
other than reading some book written by some guy, I mean, just do the things I talked about. Honestly, it all starts with a recognition of what the source of stress is. Let me bring it back to the bear. I told you that imagine there's a bear about to attack you, or a bear about to attack me, or a lion, since you like to imagine the lion.
Yes.
So there's a lion about to attack you.
Mm,
Well, even if there is really a bear in your life, or really a lion, or whatever, it still depends on how you think about that stimulus
yeah.
as to how you're going to react to it. My thoughts regarding lions or bears or whatever has a lot to do with how my brain interprets that response. I might have an intrinsic, maybe built-in need to survive, and so therefore I see the bear and I recognize, ooh, that's an absolute threat, but it's still influenced by my thoughts. And let's say hypothetically, I'm walking through the woods one day, and I encounter a bear, and it's the thoughts in my head are something like, oh, this is a really nice day for a hike. It's really beautiful
Mhm.
and great to get out in nature. I really needed this, a little bit of exercise. Maybe I'll see some wildlife. Maybe oh, look, there's a deer over there. Oh, look, there's a squirrel. Oh, look, there's a bear. How lucky am I to see a bear? You know what I mean?
Right.
That's a mindset, right? It's just a matter of my thoughts, and if
Yeah.
my mindset is in that capacity, yeah, I might not be immediately scared by the bear. Maybe it doesn't look like it's trying to attack me. Maybe it's just going about its business.
Yeah.
On the other hand, maybe I'm walking through the woods and I'm like, oh man, I life has been tough lately. I've been having a hard time. I've been struggling. I mean, I can't believe this happened and that happened. I probably shouldn't. I'm really afraid of the woods. Anything could jump out at any time. In fact, I probably shouldn't have watched that movie Cocaine Bear before I came out here because I'm really, I'm really freaking out. Oh, look, there's a bear. The mindset sets the context
Yeah.
in which we interpret things that are thrown at us. I didn't expect a bear to attack me, or I didn't expect to see a bear on my trail, rather, but the state of mind that I'm in and when I encounter it influences whether or not I recognize it as a threat. And then, of course, once I do recognize it as a threat, well, that influences the nature of the thoughts that I may have afterwards. And so it is really important to understand the role that your thoughts have in influencing your stress. And that's, I think, the first thing that anyone needs to do with regard to managing stress is to understand where it comes from. I ask people all the time, what are you so stressed about? And they'll say, well, this, and this. I'm like, not once will they mention my interpretation of this, the way I think about this, the way my value system is affected by this, and so
Yeah.
forth, right? They
Yes.
don't recognize their own internal uh,
Yes.
contribution to the stress they're experiencing.
I agree 100%. It's like I believe we create our own reality because it's all about perception, how we perceive things. I might like the color purple, you might hate the color purple. So it's like it's just how we see things. It's
Yep.
still the color, the same color, but we just don't agree. So your reality is different than mine in that
Right.
aspect of life. So, yeah, it's all about how you see life. It's really important how you think and feel about life and the events that happen to you. I
There,
think that really
there,
helps.
ultimately, there is an objective reality, right? There is actually a world that you and I both live in
Right.
that we are interacting with. But how our mind interprets those things that we interact with makes all the difference. All the difference
Absolutely.
in the world.
And for my last question, what do you hope readers take away from the art of taking it easy in terms of long-term life changes?
You know, to be honest with you, I can't expect a book to change anyone's life. It's a I don't that could never be what I would expect to happen from somebody reading my
Okay.
book. I would love that to happen.
Yeah.
I would love to increase awareness of stress, because to be honest, we are currently facing a very severe mental health crisis in our society, and not just our society though. The entire world
Yeah.
is in the midst of suffering from this mental health crisis, and nobody knows what to do with it, because nobody knows what the real culprit is, right? People talk about social media. They talk about guns. They talk about world events, disasters, climate change. They talk about all these things that people stress about, and there are real things that people stress about. But one thing that people fail to realize is the whole collected package of changes that have taken place to human beings. Our lives are remarkably good right now, Grace. Like our lives are so good.
Mhm.
We might not say that. Well, my life stinks compared to so and so, or I don't have as much money as that person, or whatever. But our lives are so good.
Yes.
Our poor people have cable TV and gaming machines, and it's life is good, and
Yes.
it's better
Agreed.
than it's ever been, and yet we're generating more depressed people and more anxious people than ever before. And part of the reason for that is this collection of influences that people are pointing out. There's a lot of talk about nutrition right now, and
Yeah.
I'm following that with. There's a lot of talk about physical exercise, a lot of talk about this and that and so forth. The reality is that all those things are happening simultaneously.
Mhm.
We're not exercising. We're not doing stuff with our lives. We are bombarded by social media
Yeah.
information. We are bombarded by advertising and social comparisons, and there are bad things happening in the world. And instead of preventing ourselves from going crazy over them, a lot of us are just sitting on the couch and ruminating, or sitting on the
Absolutely.
couch and worrying. And that's a big part of the problem, is the whole collection of all these things. So how do we solve that? I don't know, but but I would really like to throw my little bit in to try to help people to recognize the role that their own brain has
Mhm.
on the stress of the experience, and hopefully maybe take some steps to change the way they think and change some of their activity levels. And that's all that I can really hope to establish with the book like this.
Absolutely. And everything you said reminds me of this documentary called The Blue Zones: How to Live to 100 and Beyond, or something like that, on
Hmm.
Netflix. And one of the things that they said that all the blue zones, which is people that live over 100, had was exercise.
Yep.
They ate mostly plant-based diets. They had a sense of community. They helped and volunteered. They
Right.
worked.
Well,
So I feel like all of
well,
that
let me
is,
just say though, it gets dangerous when you focus on very specific things.
yeah,
Like so. So I know a lot of people like, well, I want to be healthy, so I'm going to live a vegetarian lifestyle. As you
yeah.
talked about going to a vegan restaurant. There's no animal products in potato chips. There's no animal
Oh, yeah, of
products.
course. You can
There's
eat
no
junk
animal
food.
products in
Wow.
Snickers bars. I mean,
Absolutely.
so you could be like, if you focus solely on one aspect and you think that's going to make you healthy, it's not. Because then you get, every time you're sitting around bored, you like have the urge to eat. Well,
Of
you got plenty
course.
of potato chips and other meat-free snacks.
Yeah.
We really do need to focus more on the big picture. And
Yeah.
so myself, for example, I referenced sitting on the couch and not doing anything several times throughout this talk. When I sit on the couch and I don't do anything, I do get the urge to get up and go snack and eat,
Of course.
and
Absolutely.
that's that snack. And so I might say, well, I need to cut out all snacks, and that's going to solve my problems.
Not really.
No, it's not. I have to keep my brain busy so that I never
Yeah.
feel like snacking, basically.
Well, actually, when I say plant-based, it's whole foods plant-based, which does not include processed crap,
Hmm.
junk food. Yes, of course, Oreo cookies are actually vegan. but
That's
that's
true.
what I say. Yeah. I mean, I go vegetarian sometimes, but I try to avoid meat because of the type of cancer that I had. And that's
Yeah.
just a personal choice that I have, period. And according to my blood type, it's better to be plant-based and not eat meats.
I, uh,
So,
I I was a vegetarian for several years. Actually, I was a vegan for several years.
yeah,
I lived in Austin, Texas, which is a good place to be a vegan, by the way.
yeah.
And then
It is LA.
I moved to New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh
Uh,
my God,
which
forget
was
it.
That's a
I
terrible,
live there. No, you can't
terrible,
be vegan there. No, you
terrible
can't.
place to be a vegan.
You
So
can't.
I I found myself eating a whole lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when I lived in New Orleans. And is that a healthy lifestyle? Of course not. I mean,
No, no, absolutely not. No, but the food is very important. That it's clean food.
yeah.
Like you said,
Ironic in New Orleans, where like seafood is king. Some of the
yeah.
healthiest food you can eat is like shrimp and fish, and
I don't
well,
like
I
fish.
can't eat that because I'm a vegetarian. Let me go home and make myself another peanut butter and jelly po' boy.
Yeah, well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm
I
talking
know,
about these.
I know. I just had to throw out a bit. That's all.
Okay, okay, that's fine. I know, I
We
know. I'm
are
not one of those.
comedians, by the way.
I know.
You
I'm
and
not.
I. I mean, we get stuck in these serious subjects, but we are still comedians.
I know, I know. We joke around. Yes, yes. But no, I don't want you to think that I eat crap. Though I eat crap sometimes. You know why? Because crap makes me feel good sometimes.
Oh, of course, it's
I want to
comforting.
eat crap. I admit it. And it's
There,
okay.
there
I'll have,
are there is comfort in comfort
yeah,
foods.
there
That's
is.
why we got them. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of people are very strict, like raw vegan and this. I'm like, I'm flexible. I'm basically whole foods plant based. I'll go vegetarian when I'm like going crazy. And then I'll have like little sweet, I love
Right.
treats. So
Right.
I'll have one a day because it makes me happy. And it's not vegan. The treats I have are not vegan. So, but they're kind of healthy ish. But still,
Sure.
you have to also, it's a balance of eating healthy and also eating stuff that you like every now and then. It's a
Yep.
balance. It's not
Well,
like you have to go all the way one way.
it's interesting that we're getting to this point because just like the last talk we had, sorry, about my first book led into this talk. We're
Yes.
now getting into the territory of my most recent book.
No, stop it. What is it? I love that.
My most recent book came out last year. It's called Of Bears and Weight Loss. And it's
Oh
all
my God.
about this particular subject. So.
We need to have you back
All
on
right.
that book. We'll book it.
We'll be a three-peat.
I love it because it is a relationship with food. Is a relationship. That's for sure. Oh, I would love that if you will book it. So, guys,
Absolutely.
He's going to be back. He's back. But anyway, we've been going on for an hour, which is great. Thank you for your time, for being here for an hour and enriching our lives and enlightening us about how to handle stress, which we all need a little bit of enlightenment on that. And definitely we'll have you back talking about your other book.
All right. Well, thank you
Okay.
so much, Grace. Good talking to you as always.
Same here. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm going to stay a little bit longer if you guys want to comment or I'll just chat, whatever. I'll be like a few minutes here and I'll see if you guys want to hang out. But anyway, speaking of hanging out, tomorrow I am going to be on YouTube on a live called Lunch with Grace. And I'm going to actually make one of my favorite dishes that I make all the time because I am a little lazy when it comes to cooking. And I'm going to show you how easy and healthy and yummy it is. So I think I'm going to do Lunch with Grace with some cooking tomorrow. So if you want to join me, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube. Let me actually take it off as a ticker and I'll put it right there. So help grow the channel, the YouTube. Now we're streaming on YouTube right now too. And subscribe so we can grow the channel and help others. We have amazing guests on all my podcasts. We do lives and my YouTube channel is all about love, joy, and transformation. So If you guys are into that, if you're going to grow as a person, we are all growing together, because I am growing with you guys. It's not like I'm going to teach you how to grow, because I don't know how to teach anybody how to grow. It's about, just being joyful and transforming and growing together. I think that's what my thing is, in my YouTube channel and everything I do, and everything, all the platforms. So anyway, subscribe to the channel, and so you can join me tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And it would be 1 p.m. Central time and 2 p.m. Eastern time, lunch with Grace. And let me actually show you. I would love to show you right now um, what I've been up to. Speaking of relationships, I wrote a book about dating. And I've been very busy, you guys. I've been like writing books and doing podcasts and all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to show you right now. Let me get this off right there. And I am going to show you what my next book is about. And it's available at thestateofgraceshop.com. And also, by the way, the State of Grace Shop, I have tons of like fun t-shirts. Like I have the Buddha with Booty series. I have the Grace Rules series. I have mugs, t-shirts, desk mats. I have books there. I have tickets to my next live party, which is on November 6th, I think. Let me see. When is my next party? Woo-hoo. November 16th, you guys. So November 16th is my next party. Private party. It's only $5 to get in. We had a blast the last one we did, and it's only happening on YouTube. And so let me actually run the little video that I made on my book. Okay, my new book. Check it out. Dating is like trying to find a needle in a haystack, except the haystack is full of frogs and weird DMs. But who says you can't have fun while you're searching for that needle or prince? Say goodbye to dating disasters and hello to love that lights up your world. In Love, Laughter, and Lessons, a fun guide to dating, I spill all the secrets to navigating the dating scene with grace, humor, and just the right amount of sass. Whether you're swiping left or making eye contact across the room, I'll show you how to attract love like a magnet. It's time to stop waiting for love and start living it. Get your copy of Love, Laughter, and Lessons, a fun guide to dating today, and let the magic begin. So I made that video myself, you guys. I'm totally now into making videos and editing them and making them fun. I don't know why. I just love doing that. So so there is let me see. Oh, by the way, I would love you guys to check my merch on the State of Grace shop, and I'm going to show you some of them. Okay, they're really fun, so check it out. All right, I made that video too. I'm so proud of myself. I'm making all these videos. So anyway, also, if you want to subscribe to my Patreon, it's only $5.99 a month, and you get to watch all the comedy series that are not available to the general public. They're just on the fan sites that I have. So check out the series that I have, and I'm going to actually come up with more. I have Psychic Patty, who is a psychic who always predicts the future wrong. And then when the people call her like, well, that didn't happen, she blames them. Well, it's because you didn't do this, isn't that? So that's the premise of that skit. And then I have Maurice, the French ladies man. And he's going to have a mannequin, and he's going to let you know how to treat the ladies. And he doesn't have a clue. Okay. He thinks he has a clue, but he doesn't. So, but now what I have is Golfing with Jose there. I have the Tias. And I have Bill, and look, Bill is one of my favorite characters. I love Bill. When I lived in the South, I had contact with a lot of bills. So I know them very well. But anyway, check it out. Oh, I was dancing to the music. So by the way, also on Patreon, you can read a couple of my books for free. So it's a really, really good deal, you guys. And personal messaging, all kinds of like perks as a member. So check it out. It's everything I do is the State of Grace Fraga. So patreon.com/ at the State of Grace Fraga. And so is my youtube.com/ at the State of Grace Fraga. So anyway, I think I'm gonna, oh, another thing I have, you guys are gonna love this. And this is gonna be on all the platforms, and it's gonna be top 10 with Grace. Okay. And I'm gonna have guests that are gonna be with me, and we are going to do the top 10 like craziest things. The next time we're doing top 10 things you didn't know about the Macy's Thanksgiving parade. I think that's kind of like the bulk of the title of the list. I have a ton of lists, and we're gonna pick like the most fun, ridiculous ones. Last time we have like 10 top like phobias you didn't even know existed. Though, by the way, it's under Brain Babes. That one, it was Brain Babes top 10. And you can watch it on the Brain Babes playlist on my YouTube. And that one was a lot of fun with Kathy McCauley. She was so much fun, you guys, that I invited her back to do my top 10 with Grace, which is a new thing that I have, a new live show that I have. And here's the intro so you can see I made the intro myself too. Yeah, that one is going to be on November 22nd. It's a Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Central time, and 2 p.m. Eastern time. Subscribe to follow me. Actually, subscribe, but you can follow me on Instagram. I post all the stuff there. Here it is. And my Instagram is at the State of Grace Fraga. Again, most of my stuff, except my Twitter, my ex is Grace Fraga. I don't want to change it because it's that whole vibe trying to change that. So at the State of Grace Fraga IG, follow me there, and you will get notifications of everything that's going on with all the lives that I do. And if you want all my links, you can go to my Linktree/Grace Fraga, and you can get all of them there. Okay. But anyway, thank you so much, you guys, for being here. I love you, and I appreciate your love and support. And I will see you tomorrow, hopefully, on Lunch with Grace. And I'm going to teach you my little vegan recipe that's delicious. I'm a rice person, so that's what I'm going to say. It's with rice. Yeah, it's yummy. All right. So you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. And like we talked about today, if you're stressed out or you're thinking like, I got to do this, I got to do that, just pause and say, all right, I'm going to go take a walk, or I'm going to drive myself here. I'm going to go. What I do is like I go to Starbucks and get a coffee and a brownie because I love that. Or I go drive myself to the beach, which I might do after this. And I did that yesterday. And I went to my favorite vegan restaurant because I'm working so hard, which is good. And it keeps me busy. And I love helping others through the work that I do. Everything I do is about helping others. And sometimes I need to remind myself, like, girl, you need to, like, Jill. So do that. Okay? Remember, you're important. You need to take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, nobody will. So Take care of yourself and remember that it's all about how you see life. And if you see life as it's shit, it's going to be shit. If you see life as it's fun, it's going to be fun. So it's all about how we see life, even when we're going through the worst times of our lives. Okay. So, speaking of that, before I go, I am going to show you the book, Get This Off My Chest, which is all about that, about joy and transformation, even through the hardest times in your life. And that one is also available at the State of Grace shop. And all my books at the State of Grace shop, except for two, that are $9. They're all on PDF and they're all $5.99, the last books that I wrote. Okay. So here you go. Life hit me with a storm I never saw coming. Stage 3 breast cancer. But let me tell you something. When the storm passes, something beautiful can emerge. I know because I lived it. Get This Off My Chest is my story of transformation. It's about finding peace, joy, and positivity in the middle of the hardest battle of my life. This book is for anyone who's ever felt overwhelmed by life's challenges, especially when it comes to your health. It's not just another cancer memoir. It's a guide to reclaiming your life, your joy, and your power. When I was going through cancer treatment, I made a choice to laugh through the chaos, to surround myself with love, and to embrace every single day with gratitude. I want to share that with you. Get This Off My Chest is about shifting your mindset, flipping the script, and learning to find light in the darkest moments. Because I believe that transformation is beautiful, and every challenge, no matter how hard, is an opportunity to rediscover yourself. So whether you're fighting your own battle or supporting someone you love, this book is for you. It's for the warriors, the survivors, and anyone ready to live life with joy, strength, and a whole lot of humor. Get your copy of Get This Off My Chest. It's available on my online shop, www.thestateofgraceshop.com. Your journey to healing starts now. All right, you guys, I hope you liked that video. I made it myself too. I always make it myself. But so anyway, eventually I think I'll be able to afford somebody to help me, but I kind of enjoy doing it. So I don't know if I want to like delegate that. I really don't. So anyway, you guys, I will see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Central time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Can't wait to show you my favorite recipe. So join me on YouTube, only on YouTube. That's the only one that I'm going to be on. It's youtube.com/@the-state-of-grace-fraga. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you guys.